Okay, so we have Josh from SUNY Cortland, and he is going to be doing a presentation on Azure boards for us. Whenever you're ready, Josh.
Okay, thanks. Can you see my screen? That's just the IR website?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so I have been with SUNY Cortland for about 20 years. I am currently the Director of System Administration and Web Services. Oversee a group that we practice a fair amount of DevOps. So we have systems engineers and software engineers kind of under one umbrella. We support the campus portal, Blackboard, server infrastructure, software engineering, and application administration. And whenever possible, we try to follow lean and agile. Don't always do it, but we try. And project management has been one of those things we've been chasing ever since our existence. The departments was formed about 10 years ago. I was part of administrative computing, then was asked to lead this group. We've grown about 3 staff members since our inception, and we're actually adding 1 more now. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of the history of where we started with project management, and then how we're using Azure DevOps now, and maybe where we're going. So we used to use a product called Active Collab, which went in a different direction. So we actually started using Trello. Since Varia asked me to give you a quick overview of how we were using that, so you can see it, and then we'll kind of go on the Azure product. So as information resources, which is IRT, we're combined with the library, so we're IR here. We wanted to combine project management solutions, so we decided on Trello. We used it primarily to track projects. I wouldn't say it's project management. So you can kind of see what we did in here, where we had our different project statuses queued, on hold, and planning, level of effort, in progress, pre-production, completed. And we would move projects in between, but they didn't really give us a level of task management. They didn't let us capture the user stories the way we wanted to. And it really didn't let us for client feedback. So one of the things we do heavily is interact with our clients, give them updates about the project, get their stories, get their sign-offs on project statuses and such. And Trello was challenging to do that. Very good at letting us throw things in quickly, pretty bad about keeping track of them. The software folks, the developers, did a pretty good job. The systems engineers hated it because they had to go to 3 different places to track their progress. So we still use Trello. We use it more. We interact with the marketing department, so we create tasks for each other in here. They're not really projects, they're just discussion items. It works great for that. But in terms of using it for Agile, we really struggled with it. You can see here we use it for campus technology services. We write applications for them, and it works for them to put in requests and track them that way. But we kind of outgrew this pretty quickly. The other challenge we had is procurement. Trello would not adjust their contract for SUNY language, so the amount of users we had to move on, and we kind of lost for a long time because we didn't have anything. We tried Microsoft Project Online, which was too much overhead and too cumbersome, and we kind of fell into Azure DevOps, which I'll show now. So the one thing we do is we do have a project intake form. This is specific to my department. IR doesn't have a whole one, and our users are pretty good about filling this out. So sometimes we'll be in a meeting and somebody's talking about a project, we'll pull up this form and fill it out with them. We try and capture as much as we can, but it's really the start of the project. It's not a project charter. We go back and establish one of those. So it's pretty simple. Most of our users are frequent hitters, kind of know how to fill this out, work through it. Some just send a request in through our ticketing software for a software engineer, and then they kind of walk them through the project request form. But to the Azure product. So let's get here. Just kind of playing around with this one. Okay. So this is Azure DevOps. And as part of that, you get this project management tool. So I think anybody who has Office 365 has access to this. And you get, I believe, 8 team members available to use for free before you have to start paying for it. And once you start paying for it, it comes out of your Azure. If you do pay as you go, a license allotment there, or pricing allotment. It is pretty good. So we use it a lot for our agile development. We put in infrastructure projects, software engineering projects. I will say I showed it to the director of networking here, and he wanted nothing to do with it. So it is very software development lifecycle driven, which can be good, but also has its challenges. So one of the things it does want to do is it wants to integrate with Git, since Microsoft purchased them. And we don't use Git. We actually use a source code repository called Plastic, so we're not using that feature. So that's why you can see pull requests and things like that. But it really wants to center around a product. So we don't necessarily do products here. We do some. We implement various softwares for different agencies around campus. But we have various different projects we work with. So we made our product solves projects. So we kind of hacked at the software a little bit to get it to do what we needed to do. Once I log in, I can see my team members. I can see the dashboard for the project. So we know what we have for open software requests. I can see the work assigned to me. Here's our user stories that are open. We have quite a bit. Here's our supported applications. So because this is very agile-y, we're using epics as our milestones in a way. We're using epics as our supported applications. So rather than treating them as a true epic, we're using them as a placeholder for that, and it works well enough for us. So if I click in one of these, I can see the epic, and then I can see the work related to that epic that's still open. So very useful in that regard. I can follow an epic, so if I want to kind of see what's going on, we do it that way. One of the things we're starting to do is we went under a minor reorganization about a year ago, where I was able to promote a software engineer to assistant director. And what we're capturing now, so I come into this one. So
Hey, Josh, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's Krista.
No,
Can you hear me?
no worries. No, go ahead.
For some of the folks, could you backtrack a bit and explain the context of epics? I don't think everybody who's familiar with Agile is familiar with Agile as you are. What does an epic mean when you're talking Agile?
Well, it's one of those Silicon Valley terms.
Right.
For us, it means I think most software development places would refer to it as the goal you're trying to get to. So whether it's a feature release or and I think in most cases it's that it's your feature release, it's your build. For us, we're looking at a supported application, so it's the end product that we're delivering. That's how we're treating it. It can be defined different ways for different people. It's the outcome, yeah, or the epic, as I've learned a lot of terms in working with this piece of software, things like T-shirt sizing and all sorts of fun stuff. So, yeah, there's a lot of terms flowing around here that if I go over them, feel free to just stop me and say, what the heck do you mean by that? Because I've spent the better part of 6 months trying to wrap my brain around how they refer to some of these things. So here is our epics, and what we try and do is when a user submits a project, what we're starting to do now is, let me pull up a good one. What's the one I loaded? Let's see. So the athletics forum. Oh, that's going to be on the boards. No, here. So forms and workflows are what we do a lot of. And you can see we have a lot of things down in here with the related work items that we start to track. This intern application is a good one. We're trying to find one where we've, let me see. Okay, so here's one where what we use, in a way, we use the description as what we call the user story. So what we're trying to do now is use this system where when the user submits a project request, they give us a basic description of what they're trying to do. We sit down with them, capture that user story, then submit it back to the actual software engineers, where the assistant director will do a weekly meeting with them, and the software engineers add tasks to the related work of what it's going to do to accomplish that user story. From there, we can give it points, a priority, and a risk. And that's how we start to plan out our development lifecycle. When this is going to fit in our queue, and start to build our calendar from there. So that's where these boards come into play. We can start to move things in from new, active, resolved, closed. We set up our backlogs. For those of you who aren't familiar with the concept of sprints, we set up our sprints basically on semester based. So we'll do a fall sprint, a spring sprint, and a summer sprint. So let me see here. It's going to be difficult. Yep. Why is that showing this? The other one challenge with this product is that they're constantly updating it. So you'll log in one day and they'll add another feature and move where you can see your sprints, for instance, like they just did to me. So that's definitely a challenge. Let's see. So yeah, so you have iterations. So you hear the sprints. Here we go. So I can put this into a sprint, and then the software engineers can grab it and start working on it. When they finish it, they close their tasks, and then the assistant director is notified that that task is done, and we can assign other ones, or they can just grab one themselves. Same thing for systems projects. So we did a virtualization project where we had to provision a bunch of new servers, and we used this piece of software to help with that. Again, one of the challenges is it separates out where we're doing tasks and incidents from where we're doing projects. So people are logging into multiple places. The other challenge with this is notification. So it doesn't do a great job of sending you emails when things are due. You have to log in and look at your dashboard pretty regularly to see what you need to do. So that can be difficult for some. So we're putting server projects in. We're moving SQL servers, so you have your related tasks here. You can kind of get down. If I want to assign them to a person, I can do that. So here's my people I can assign them to. Once I do that, they should get an email if it doesn't go to spam. So if I assign that to them, save and close it, they'll get an email. If moving SQL servers would cause some development work, I can add links to some development tasks, or I can just add a new item here, and I can pick what I need. It's a child, maybe it's another user story, a feature, issue, task, test case, user story. So a bug, we don't use this for bug tracking, but you definitely could. So it is a pretty specific project management tool that some might find useful. We find it useful for now. I will say as a disclosure, we're currently seeking something else, something much larger, a combined tool that integrates tasks, incidents, and project management in one. So this is going to be a short-lived experiment, I think, but it is there for others if they wanted to try it. About all I have on it. If people have questions, it's kind of hard to get into because I know a lot of people don't fully practice Agile, and I'm not saying that we do, but it's very much a tool wrapped around that process. So it's not flexible if you want to do a water flow method or something different. It's going to make you work within the confines of Agile. You can. So let me go back out here. Because you can actually, I might take back what I just said a little bit because this is fairly new. So I can change it to Scrum, CCMI, Agile. Here's my choices when I build a project, how I want that to be. Now I have SUNY Cortland Solves Agile, so that's you can change how you want to call an epic. Like you don't have to call an epic. You can actually change that to a milestone if you want to change that term. So here's your different project methodologies you can use in there. If you have a different version control, you can change that as well. But that
Does
is,
this integrate with Team Foundation out of curiosity?
yes.
That's
Yes, it
something
does.
somebody's already using?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So you can do that, which we're not doing yet, but so we are a .NET shop and we can integrate Visual Studio with this, so they can actually pull their development requests right from here and start working on them. To be honest, we do not have the throughput to need to do that. We're a relatively, when we're a medium-sized campus, we have a lot of projects, but we're not doing daily builds. And that kind of integration is nice, but our team is a team of 5 software engineers, so it's not completely necessary yet. Not yet. But it does have these boards you can track things through, similar to Trello. You can filter things in here, move things around.
Josh, I have a question. If people are not familiar with agile software development, is that where you got your experience to do agile project management, or did you get it from somewhere else, a place that maybe somebody else could look at?
So I've been keeping up on it for about 10 years now. But when I hired my senior software engineer about 8 years ago, he came with a lot of agile experience. And he's been teaching up for a while. So he's been teaching me it for a long time. We're honestly at the point we're onboarding a new employee and searching for a new software engineer. And when both those things happen, we want to do some formal agile training for my staff and anybody else who would be interested. Because we actually need a refresher as well. We haven't done it in a while.
Okay. I will be speaking later about some different professional development activities that'll do that, but I wondered if there was some place that you could recommend to people that need to take a look at.
Honestly, this is going to be a real dull answer, but I watch a lot of people on YouTube who talk about it and go through it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great tool.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Sure.
Other questions? You guys have any questions in the room? Anybody online have any questions?
Nope.
Okay.
Cool. Well, you got 20 minutes.
Well, thank you, Josh. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
All right. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and then we are going to come back and do our next